Hello. I got some mail. I'm a little concerned because I'm pretty sure I know who it's from. This might be anthrax. It might be... I have no idea what it is. They bent it because the U.S. Postal Service is really kind and generous. If it is the person who I think this is, or the people, Sharon and CD. Sorry, I didn't mean to misidentify you, Sharon. If it is them, just know that the other package was there, but I came after hours because it's a government service. Their operating hours are a maximum of, I don't know, 2.5 hours a day. I had one of those, hey, your box isn't big enough things, if you know what I mean. Let's see what we've got here. It's flat, bro. Let's see. Oh, it's clear. It's a window decal. That might end up. That's gonna end up on the back of the old desktop there. CD, Shannon, I think it's you. It's really hard to tell when you order it from a place in California, but I don't know. If it's not them, then thank you, whoever you are. All right, this is day 2. I guess this is gift 2 out of 3 from, I believe, Sharon and CD. I don't have a knife. Why don't I have a knife? Get a knife. Okay, I got a knife, and yeah, I can see why this didn't fit in a P.O. box. So it's a little heftier than a flat, hard sticker. I swear, if this is like some sort of big black sex toy, I'm gonna be honored. Which is going to be fun to get out. Oh, we've got a little slip of, there's some sort of card there. We've got a clue, at least. Ow. Ow. Fun sound. Thank you. I wonder if they knew when they sent this that there was going to be an alien invasion at the time of my unboxing. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a green gray. Yep, they know where that's going. It's going right on the desk. Thank you for inviting Cosmos and Aurora into your home. May they bring peace and quiet to your universe. I don't know if you're like trying to, you know, infect my home with some sort of demonic possession or something, but facebook.com/alien invasion 2020. Wow, they were really ahead of the game. There's a part of me that's a little bit concerned, because if they're saying that this brings some sort of peace and quiet into your universe and your home, and you're inviting them into your home, I did not invite you into my home. This was forced upon me. There was no invitation. Sharon, CD. Stop inviting demons into my house. I see that he is gender neutral. That's very progressive of him, or them. Quite the handsome chap, though, and he'll be hanging out. Name this fine genderless fellow that is probably full of demons. Name him in the chats.
Made in China.
Well, it is the final day, I believe, the final day. I hope and pray the final day of the birthday apocalypse extravaganza, whatever we're calling this. But I got this styrofoam cube in the mail. Looks like it's a packaged like pound of beef, pulled pork, ground chuck, maybe a nice kidney. Anyway, let's find out what this is. From Thread Weird, from CD, from Sharon, wrapping this up. You guys have made my birthday really, really something. I brought a knife this time. Thought that might be helpful. Hello, kitty. Would you like to help? From Thread Weird Apparel Company. He doesn't want to help as much as he pretended like he did. The moment of truth. The egg has been split. Nope. The egg has almost been split. Dang it, it's still stuck. I'm gonna get this. There's only 4 sides. I'm not sure how many I've done so far, but it feels like it's been a lot more than 4. I'm just trying not to cut into whatever this is. Damn it! Oh, it's a mug. Oh, it's a coffee and conspiracy theories mug with a cat wearing a tinfoil hat. I did not know what this was when I got my cat involved in this, but wow. Look, it's beautiful. It's got cats, it's got conspiracy theories, it's got coffee, it's in my color and everything. Thank you so much, CD and Sharon and Jack and Dave and everybody who was involved in the birthday shenanigans. I think we're kind of milking it a little bit at this point because my birthday was, we're going on a month now. We're pushing it a little bit, I think. But it is my show and I'll do what I want. In fact, screw it. Let's just intro this shit right here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. It's The System Is Down, where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics like conspiracies, politics, religion, and all the stuff. The stuff that's going on in the world, the burning down of all the things. We talk about all that. If that stuff makes you uncomfortable, good, great, you're in the right place. I'm gonna roll this intro, you're gonna get all hyped and jazzed. We've got Daywalker Comedy joining us today to laugh at the apocalypse, and we're gonna have a good time. Go share it, friends and enemies alike, particularly enemies, they have the most to learn. And yeah, let's get weird.
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
I would ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that.
Half of Trump supporters do what I call activist support.
I don't know what I said. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
Thieves or possesses weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda.
Handle the truth.
I remember that with Massachusetts. We are still here!
We have to say yes to
Let you know tomorrow. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
All right, if you thought my intros were too long, I know you guys like to bitch about that, but thought I'd make an extra specially long one for you so you could enjoy all of my unbirthday boxing shenanigans, and you know, you can see all of the beauty, the payoff that CD provided here. The beautiful, unnamed, unpenised alien there. You can see the sticker there, and cheers. Guys, I've introed much too long, and we've got a guest today, a very exciting guest that I'm excited to have that we're going to get to. But first, got to thank you guys in the Downers Club, people like Grumpy Gnome, RJ, JC, Justin Savoy, Justico Mitchell, Silas Lane, Denise Cox, Joey Ferguson, Amy Lepore, Andrew Choi, Lee, and Osmotaz something, Gid Kid, Alex, Break the Bell, Zareth Anarchy, Keith Compton, Hefflum Swoozles, SDG, Level 0, Jack, Casey, Craig DeCosta, Joe Kabitsky, Derek Evans, Tim Brown, Howie Snowden, Trenton Campbell, Justin Zelinsky. I've got some energy today. I'm not sure why, but maybe just sitting back and letting the intro take care of itself helps with that. Patreon.com/The System Is Down. Get in there, support the thing, get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more uncomfortable, more weekly content at Patreon.com/The System Is Down. All right, as has been mentioned, we do have, of course, we have Dave. Dave's always here for better and worse, but not just Dave. We are also today joined to discuss the news by the one, the only Amanda Miller of Daywalker Comedy and voice actress extraordinaire. Amanda, I keep wanting to say Daywalker. That's a little too internet, though. I don't know. What do you go by on the internet?
No, on the internet, I go by Daywalker. It makes me feel cool. It warms the cockles of my cold, dark heart. So you can do that.
Nice. I'm not sure if I'm, if that's the effect that I'm going for when I say your name. I wasn't looking for cockle warming.
You don't want to warm my cockles?
No,
is this not...
Keep your cockles to yourself. But so Daywalker, all three syllables is what we go by, because that's a little too long.
Oh well, all right, fine. I feel like Daywalk feels weird. So
Daywalk. Yeah. Dave also is here. Dave, how are you, sir? Muted, as boomers generally tend to be on these things.
The only thing worse than a three-syllable name is not even being able to speak. Daywalker, good to see you.
You too.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Daywalker. Tell us.
You said that with such reluctance. You're like,
I can't do this.
I regret
Like,
having her on.
I mean, I'll call you Daywalker for the entire rest of this show if you call me The System is Down for the entire show.
That's more than 3 syllables. I'll call you the system. That's kind of cool.
I'll take it.
Actually cool. Yeah, take the bargain, dude.
So I wasn't familiar with your stuff until just like a couple days ago. Somebody, I don't remember who, I'm sorry, but dropped into my probably slid into my DMs and said, "Hey, this person has a good take on some things and a nice weird sensibility to them that will fit well with the show." And I watched like a minute and a half of your videos and was like, "Yep, that's fam right there." So yeah, tell us a little about you and like how you got into doing whatever the fuck it is you're doing and whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, I feel like that's a long question, but I guess I'll start by thanking Zach Varnell for sliding into your DMs. You know, he's being my wingman. He's like, can you just like touch my friend's cockles? And you're like, all right, sure.
It happens a lot around here. I get a lot of people sliding into my DMs to be like, hey, setting up play dates and things. I mean, I'm glad because I don't have time to go looking for people.
No, that's fair. Okay, so I started as an actor, or I guess I am still an actor, hopefully. We'll see when I get canceled. But I'm an actor, I do voiceover, I do on camera, I do all sorts of stuff. But I've always loved doing sketch comedy, and like even in 8th grade, that was kind of like my thing, was making like stupid little sketches. And then 2 years ago, I kind of had like a political awakening kind of thing, and suddenly I'm like, oh, why is nobody making like jokes about this? Like, why is SNL like throwing softballs? Like, I thought these things were mainstream. I didn't realize that a lot of the stuff was kind of biased towards one side. So I was like, there's comedy to be mined here. And I felt
so much gold. They're just left untapped because nobody wants to touch it. Yeah.
And like, I was seeing some people like kind of push back. I was seeing like, Ryan Long or like people like that I really respect doing that. Like Shane Gillis a little bit, like Dave Smith. And I started kind of, exploring. I mean, I don't know how I do know how political you can get. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's kind of when I started discovering like what libertarianism was, because I was like, I'm not really over here, and like these guys say they have good ideas, but then they do the exact same stuff as these guys. So then I kind of started discovering the degeneracy that is that is libertarianism.
Nice.
And,
it's funny that you say that, because I just let the record show that I did not ask her what her libertarian journey was. I did not open the interview. She offered that willingly, and thank you for it. I can definitely relate to that. But I always make fun of the shows that every single one of them's like, so how'd you find libertarianism? I didn't even know if you were a libertarian, actually, up until just now, which I applaud you for.
The thing is, I would say that it's probably the group I affiliate the closest with. Like, if somebody tells me they're libertarian, odds are we're probably going to get along more than if somebody's like, oh, well, I'm a conservative. I'm like, well, it depends on what kind of conservative. If they're more uptight, then we're not going to get along, because I swear like a sailor and I make a lot of like kink jokes, and stuff like that, and talk about weed. So
and cockles.
Yeah, and cockles. I just, that tends to turn a lot of conservatives off. A lot of the religious ones are like, please save cockle touching till after marriage.
Save it for the priests.
Exactly. Yes. Save it for only the holy can do that. But no, it felt important to kind of mention, because beforehand I was kind of doing sketches here and there, or I did like a web series called Ghosts and Stuff Inc. And they were like less political, but it was more like me coming into, I guess, the truth. That feels very tinfoil hatty, but I guess that is kind of what like the red pill is, or whatever. It was realizing, oh, the world that I thought was really isn't. And isn't that like, I mean, it made me mad, but then I was like, well, now I'm just gonna start making fun of it.
That's good. I mean, most people don't go that way. They usually, once they start getting red pilled, they're either in camp of, okay, now that I'm red pilled, I will kindly sit over here in the corner and shut the fuck up about everything forever and ever, and hope that nobody notices me, because I don't want them to know that I'm controversial, evil, white supremacy, or whatever. Or there's the rest of them that just say, yes, you're all white supremacists. So good on you for not only, waking up, but also having the balls to talk about it.
I mean, yeah, we'll see. I'm still, there's like the two, what is that saying, with like the two wolves inside of me, and like one of them is like ready to just be like, I'm gonna call everybody out, like, and not in like an annoying like social justice way, but in a way that's actually like, yo, if you're doing something stupid, I'm gonna make fun of it. But then the other wolf. Yeah, which nowadays common sense feels like terrorism, so I'm like, my criteria is a little off, but yeah, the other wolf inside me is like a little bitch, and so she's like, I don't know, is this gonna hurt someone's feelings, someone's feces?
Yeah, I mean, there's always the concern of, The cancel culture mob is certainly real in certain areas, and they can do some damage. So yeah, I understand the concern, but good on you for doing the things. And a lot of your content is, I mean, I don't want to say it's stripped down, like it's not like high level production or anything. It's I have this joke and I want to like. I mean, I really respect that because that's like going back to like the early YouTube days where it's just like get the joke out and the joke is the most important. These props, they can be what they'll be to tell the story. I think you do that well.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's kind of what I was raised on. And I think that's another reason I wanted to get into comedy so much. I mean, I've always loved comedy. I've always loved, consuming it. And I always made jokes or sketches, but I never put them out into the world. But I definitely love when we were in high school, like we united over like South Park or Chappelle's Show, or like I didn't know what anybody's politics were, but we all
like
had
albino black sheep and all the early days of the internet where it was just random shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was quirky and authentic, and people were just trying shit, and you had like, I don't know, Charlie the Unicorn, or you had you had like, I don't know if you've seen like Gangsta Party Line or whatever. Like you just had really irreverent, funny
Salad
things.
fingers.
Yes, my salad fingers. I forgot about that. Oh my God.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah,
my show is taken from a line from Homestar Runner, so you're speaking my language.
Homestar, what up? Yeah, oh my gosh, you're like bringing so much shit back. I'm like, courtships are no place for a mighty warrior.
We are millennial nostalgia here, and Dave just sits there to make sure we don't cause too much trouble. It's the wise old sage.
I'll just stay muted. It's cool. Don't worry.
You're the babysitter. You're like making sure we don't get up to too much shenanigans.
That's it.
Dave keeps him out of trouble. Dave, you feel free to weigh in at any point. We don't usually have guests on since Dave's been co-hosting, so it's a little bit different of a mix-up here. But Dave, you're co-host, so chime in.
Yeah. Well, so far I like to always look for the common denominator, and I feel like she mentioned Saturday Night Live, and yeah, as the resident old guy, that show was fucking awesome for like a long time. And it's weird that you could get cool, innovative shit on Comedy Central and MTV, and even like I don't know, Jon Stewart or whatever. Like that used to be pretty awesome. It's weird that somehow either snuck through or it was part of the agenda or what. But yeah, it's like totally missing today. So I understand why people like Ryan Long, Dave Smith, you are, as a comedian, you have to use the truth. Like there's nothing cool about corporate comedy. So that's where I would be too. I would just be seeking that out at all times.
And I think that's probably why, sometimes I'm like, should I put like libertarian in my profile? But then I'm like, I kind of leave it as politically homeless because I feel like sometimes people digest things a little bit easier if they're like, they might have ideas about what a libertarian is, but like they might laugh at the sketch. But if they see like, oh, there's this and that, they might automatically do a thing. So I'm trying to reach more people. But
like I said, I didn't know I didn't know what your political leaning was. I just knew that you were funny and irreverent, and that's all that mattered. And it's cool to find out that you are a libertarian, or libertarian adjacent or whatever. Who cares? But like, I've said the same thing. Like when you put liberty in the thing, that automatically either is a turn on to some people or a turn off to some people. It automatically they know what they think politically, so it doesn't hook in new people if you're leading with that.
Yeah, it's like, like if SNL, I mean, we all kind of have seen the way they lean, but like if they said we're a Democrat comedy show or whatever, it would turn off half the country. If they said we're a Republican comedy show, it would turn off. Like, so I'm just like comedy, what you were saying was about truth. And I always say this, that like the reason I try not to, I call myself a daywalker because I like moving in between groups because I've never really felt comfortable being like, this is my tribe. Because then you have to subscribe to a set of rules and you have to be loyal to them. And I'm like,
and it becomes a religion and a cult with all of it, like all of its, figures that you must listen to and its rules that you must obey and all these. Yeah, I get it. Like I'm only libertarian until the libertarians suck. And when that happens, I'm out.
Exactly. Like comedy is supposed to be about truth. It's supposed to be, it's not about, I mean, yeah, it is a little bit about dunking on things, but for the most part, it's supposed to be, hey, this is funny and it's true. And if you're adhering to one side and you're not going to make fun of your people, but you'll make fun of the others, then you're not really telling the truth. Yeah. So I'd rather be more loyal to the truth than to any political party or ideology. But yes, I vibe most with the libertarians most of the time.
I do want to play a quick clip here. I didn't pull up any of your stuff except for this, but this seems like a good, quick example. This was the first thing I saw, and this was enough for me.
Okay.
Hey, racist! Racist!
Docket. Hey, I want to join Racist Club. I got called a white supremacist on the internet, so I'm basically like you guys now, right? No! Get out of here, boy!
That's it. Short, simple. Everybody knows what
Beautiful.
you're talking about. Exactly. Straight to the point. I
The
love it.
funny thing is that's only the first 30 seconds of a much longer sketch. I wrote the full thing after Larry Elder got called the blackface of white
Yep.
supremacy like a year or two ago, and I hadn't put it out, and now I'm like, I'm going to, but I'm just trying to figure out the most strategic way to do it because I already got a hate speech violation on YouTube
For that?
for
Or
no,
for the
not for
full-
that. I haven't put that out yet, but I bet you I will. I did get one on TikTok for this one.
Yeah.
Which is so funny. I'm like, clearly I'm not pro KKK. Like, just having a Klansman doesn't mean I'm like, yay, white supremacy. But
Yep.
yeah. So like, but even just that by itself stands alone. But the rest of the sketch is going to be a doozy because it's kind of just playing on that. Then I have like a Nazi, like a good old boy, and the Klansman, and they're like talking, and they're in like racist club and like this whole thing, and they're just like, man, people, we work hard to be racist. Now everybody gets called a racist. I don't want to be a part of an inclusive club. I want to be part of a club with discriminating tastes. What is this shit?
I love it. And I mean, you're racially ambiguous enough that you can get away with these things. What is kind of your background?
I'm very, very light skinned, so we'll see. I get I barely skate by because of my hair. I think like
Sure.
my hair and my ass are like maybe the two things that make people question that I'm not white fully. But yeah, no, my dad's from Louisiana, so he's Louisiana Creole. So we got some white, black, and Native American on that side, and then my mom's just white. She's from France.
Wow, as white as
so
they
yeah.
come.
Yes, very, very white, very French. And I took an ancestry test. I always thought I was half, and then turns out I'm only a third black.
Oh,
So
man.
that's
That's
I
a
feel like
bummer.
You're still minority status. They'll put
Yeah,
you
but
through
only
college.
quarter.
It's okay.
Only quarter.
yeah,
Wow.
I'm borderline. Like it's one of those. Oh my god, sorry, I'm just rambling. But that
Oh, you're good. That's what we do here.
I got recast on a video game this week because I wasn't black enough. Like
Oh, fuck.
it was. They couldn't say it like that, but basically when I auditioned, the character was I'm under NDA, so I shouldn't be saying all this, but I won't say the name. I won't say the name of the game. But I started it was a white character when I auditioned. And then when they cast me, I guess they were like, "Oh, we'll get diversity points by, making her biracial like the actress."
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Good for us." But then they decided like, "Oh, she needs to sound blacker. Like Amanda doesn't really sound any different than a white girl."
So they got you in for diversity's sake, and then they when you came, they're like, "Hey, but you don't sound
Not
stereotypical
black
enough." So
No, they
Oh,
tried.
wow.
They tried. They put me in dialect coaching.
oh my
For
god.
Southern African American vernacular English was what they said. And the lady teaching me how to sound like for my black scent classes was white. So I'm sitting here being like, I hope Black Twitter never finds out about this.
Welcome, young lady, to Ebonics 101.
It's a good thing we're not streaming this live right now. That would be a shame.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it was about like a year and a half to 2 years I was working on this and developing it with them. And then my agent this week is like, yeah, I think she said they're recasting because they started showing me the character design. And I was like, oh, like we were all kind of like, yeah, there's a mismatch here because she's looking way more
Way more diverse.
yeah, way more urban and diverse than I am.
Not so much a quarter, maybe a half.
Yeah, no, this chick is definitely at least 60% black, and I do not qualify. So on one hand, I'm relieved that I don't have to keep being like, trying to put on this thing and be like, this feels like I'm putting on vocal blackface or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
But it was just funny that I'm like getting fired because I'm not black enough.
No, that's beautiful.
Wow.
That's great. Feel free to share any of those nuggets as we go along. But speaking of miserable white women, we have to talk about Chelsea Handler and her celebration of Valentine's Day.
This is a day in the life of a childless woman. I wake up at 6 a.m. I remember that I have no kids to take to school, so I take an edible, masturbate, and go back to sleep. I wake up at 12:30 p.m. and get ready for a busy day of doing whatever the I feel like.
So I don't know if we have to pause this. This is on the Daily Show. I don't know if they're going to give us copyright strike. They probably will because they're assholes. But
YouTube.
Yeah, so we can pause this and get since we have a woman.
I think so.
Diverse.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think. Yeah. today. That's how I
not
feel.
quite white, not quite white woman. You are here. You can speak for us on. I don't want to say anything disparaging about this lovely gal here. But what are your thoughts so far? Do you have any kids? Are you married, or do you not want to tell me?
No, not yet. I want to be, but that has not happened yet.
Why would you throw your life away like that?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, it's so weird.
When
to me
will you
because
masturbate and get high?
I'm like, listen, if you believe anything's possible, so I'm like, I'll be like, kids, go in the yard. Mama wants her me time. I'll make it work. But it's one of those things that's sad to me because on one hand, I'm very much like old school, where it's like, old feminism used to be like freedom to choose whether you want to be a housewife or not. And I'm all about like, look, if it works for you, it works for you. But what I have noticed over the past couple of years is it's kind of more like, yeah, but really only girl bosses allowed, or only people who,
you choose, but choose right.
Right.
Choose to be a man. It's
seen as regressive. It's like regressive to get married and want to have kids and further the human race, or want to feel like, hey, I'm giving to something outside of myself. And it's weird. This kind of like, I don't know if it's propaganda. That's a little dramatic, but
no, it is.
Yeah, it's just like it's
dehumanizing. It's so you're kind of into the libertarian camp. I have to ask because I don't know, where do you stand on like the conspiracy stuff and the brainwashing that is currently obviously happening?
I do buy into. There's a lot of programming that's been happening. My question is more whether it's I don't know, part of the long con of like, they've been planning this since the 60s. It's a way to blah, blah, blah. Because to me, I feel like it implies that the government is competent or knows what they're doing and is able to somehow work together long enough to be able to pull off all this shit. So to me, I kind of feel like a lot of stuff might be inadvertent stuff where the government fucked up something and then it caused stuff. But just when my friends are like, they've been planning this forever and they've planted this seed in this community, I'm like, I'm open to that idea, but I just am like, my DMV doesn't even work properly. My post office doesn't work properly. They can't fix the potholes in my road. How are they going to be like conspiring, doing this complicated shit? So I go
back and forth between those two
I'm triggered.
mindsets. And I was going to say, Dave, go ahead. Take it away.
No, there's no, I again, as the resident old guy, I just know I've studied history. I know the nature of my enemy.
I'm very smart. Let me explain this to you.
I'm very smart.
Small
People
woman
tell me
brain.
I'm very enjoyable. They enjoy being around me. My company is great. No, I just, that's all good. That's absolutely, I've heard that people think, and I think that's true. Like Occam's razor, like, is that it? Where you don't apply malice when you can apply, just stupidity, right?
Yeah.
I think that applies to most places except the highest levels of government. So there's always a stooge. And in fact, I might say that George Bush or Joe Biden or Donald Trump might make a great stooge up at the front, just kind of the window dressing, but behind that
believing that they're stupid because their puppets are stupid and their puppets have to be stupid so that they can be puppets.
You believe in evil and malevolence or you don't, and that gets concentrated at the top, right? If you believe in it. So
I would agree with that. That it's like a small few as opposed to like the idea that everybody in the government's on it. Because I'm like, my dad used to work for the government. Most of those people are fucking stupid.
Right. And look, most of the House of Representatives is probably filled with a bunch of idiots.
Well, we're talking about Mitch McConnell later today. So yeah.
Right.
Right on brand.
And they're useful idiots. But a lot of these people are really smart that use their high IQ to fuck people. You know what I mean? Like, just don't care. They lack empathy. That's the main thing, I think. So they don't care about destroying people's lives as long as it enriches theirs. And but yeah, that's cool. I know most people that are. How long have you been in the liberty space and maybe the truth space?
Mostly, it was 2020 that broke me.
Yeah,
it was.
You're making great progress.
Thank you.
So you're leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of libertarians, even. Yes. So good on you.
Do you guys know? Was it Shane Hazel?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Great. I met him once, and he was like, I told him, I was like, I'm still not fully sold on the ANCAP thing because I don't, and he's like, so I said I was like a minarchist, and he was like, well, the difference between a minarchist. Yeah, exactly. Give him 6 months. So it's been a little bit longer, but to be fair, I haven't read like Rothbard and Mises yet, so I'm like, all right, we'll see.
Me neither. It's fine.
Oh,
it's right.
Okay.
It's all right. There's not rules. Just keep looking for truth. But the reason why I asked about the conspiracy stuff is because stuff like this, like on the surface level, to me, this is like just a cringy joke. But this, along with all the other movements that are going on and being pushed down our throats right now that are very much not seemingly in favor of pushing forward the human species as a species. Just stuff like this, it plays into it. I don't know if that was the intention, but it plays into it. Just be miserable and see how great it is that you can wake up, masturbate, and go back to sleep childless and never pass your genes along.
This is literal nihilism.
Yeah.
Put on my most impractical and stylish shoes, since I won't be chasing a child around the grocery store. I go to my fave spot in Paris to grab a croissant. I do a meditation sesh on the plane since I have no screaming kids, allowing me all the time in the world to become enlightened. The weightlessness of my existence has granted me superhuman powers.
The weightlessness of my existence is not the sales pitch that you think it is, in my opinion.
Right, like you want some gravity to your life. Not gravity, but like, you want some
gravity.
purpose, some anchoring,
meaning, yes.
Yeah.
I feel nothing. I am high all the time and life means nothing. She's in front of the Mona Lisa and she's taking a selfie and still being like so self-absorbed in front of the Mona Lisa. I know that this wasn't intended to look this way, but like it's telling. You're standing in front of the Mona Lisa and taking a picture of yourself blocking the Mona Lisa.
Yeah. This is not the life of a single lady. This is the life of a millionaire celebrity.
Right.
She's
who could afford a nanny easily.
It's awful.
That's a very good point. I'm like, because I'm like, I wish I could just pop over to Paris. Granted, I understand that a lot of this is hyperbolic. It's a joke. So like, as a comedian, I will allow a certain amount of ridiculousness. But
No.
you're like, unallowed.
It's only fine when we do it. I mean, if you've been on Epstein's flight logs, you kind of go down a notch on my respect for your comedy.
She's on there?
I teleport myself back home. Then I get ready for a night out with whatever hot guy I met on Raya that morning. I call up a babysitter and tell her that I don't need her since I still don't have kids.
That's like the only time that I chuckled during this earlier. But yeah, so I meet randos on chat apps and I go and bang them, and then I'm happy because I don't have kids. Like, you could do that with kids. None of these things you couldn't do with kids if you have millions and millions of dollars like Chelsea Handler has. Also, I'm not sure who she's kidding because she's like clearly dried up, right?
Right. It's like she wouldn't be able to at this. That is something I always wonder, if these people push so hard because they regret it, like, or if they genuinely are like, no, I'm happy. Because I've met some people very happy with their decisions. And honestly, I kind of agree with them. I'm like, you would make a terrible parent, so I'm glad you did not procreate. But I do wonder how many people kind of do it as a way to like justify their life decisions. Yeah, and it's kind of sad.
Have you guys heard Dave Smith talk about, like, if you were somebody who performed abortions, and then like the chances of you coming out of that and going into pro-life would be so like profoundly, it would destroy your whole life, like your whole frame of reference for everything. And you'd have to deal with the fact that then you know what I mean?
You done did that. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I imagine it would help her own sanity, which is fleeting, to, stick with that narrative for the rest of her.
Yeah, it's weird that you clearly can't have kids at this point. If you're happy with that, then fine. I have no problem with you being happy with that. And yeah, you probably shouldn't be procreating if you're in that mindset anyway. But I don't know. Just something about forcing, or not forcing, but like pushing that narrative on younger people who, I don't know, does Chelsea Handler have young female fans? I have no idea.
That's the target demo, right?
I would say it's probably my age, maybe like 30s, like millennials at the youngest, but probably not like Gen Z. I don't know.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right. Well, this is
Now it's time
riveting.
for a workout, so I hit Mount Everest for a quick climb. I invent a time machine, go back in time, and kill Hitler. Freeze, you bastard! It's amazing what you can do when you have this much free time. And that's a day in the life of a childless woman.
I kind of want to go through this. We're not going to, but I kind of want to go through it and like make a list autistically of the things that you could do with kids and the things that you can't do at all. Because I feel like all the things she listed, either you can do with kids or you can't do at all. Like going back in time and killing baby Hitler. And there's a lot of made up things to make your point sound better. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it's to me, comedy usually needs to be kind of subversive. Like it's kind of like an opinion that might not be as popular, or it might be something that a lot of people secretly were thinking, but like nobody was saying. But this is not an uncommon opinion. I feel like, in fact, this is the opinion I heard most of my, early 30s and my 20s from my female friends. They're like, anytime I say, I want to find a husband or I want to find, a partner, they're like, why? Do your thing, girl. Like, you got time. Like, it's this whole, like, it's not an unpopular opinion. So I'm not really sure why we need more people proselytizing it. I don't, that might not be the right word, but like,
I liked it. Good word use.
Thank you.
Yeah.
May I?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is okay, that is too much. Let me explain. From the top, we talk a lot about the World Economic Forum, right? Corporations of the world colluding with the United Nations to implement the 2030 plan. So that
she's like
agenda
sure.
of I know.
I
entertain
hear
us
about
just
it a
for a
lot.
second.
No, I hear about it a lot. I'm open to it.
Yeah.
I would say that agenda is don't have kids. That's part of it, right? And that gets trickled down to the corporate overlords at Viacom that own BET, MTV, Comedy Central, all that stuff. And you find your influencer to hustle those messages. And whether you're Sam Smith or, you better be ready to get pissed on, because that's what we're doing today, baby. You know what I mean? And if you don't want to get pissed on, Sam, then somebody else will. And Chelsea, if you don't want to, you know what I mean? They're right now like lining up people on The Daily Show to see who's popular, see who people like.
What a sad thing, just that, like a sad showing of the culture just The Daily Show is right now, when it's like Trevor Noah was there and nobody cared. And it was like such a big staple back in the day. Now it was Trevor Noah trickled down, and now they're like, is there anybody at all that can revive this thing? And they're trying people out, and they're like, you're a woman and funny and diverse and stuff, get in here and do that. No, nobody's watching Chelsea Handler or who else has done it? Wanda Sykes, I think, did it. And yeah, I don't know. It's pretty sad telling of where we are right now.
I think it's frustrating too, as like I don't like being like, oh, I'm a female comedian, but obviously like I got tits, and well, I guess that's not exclusive to, men can have boobs too.
Careful.
I've seen them on the beach. They have no, but like, because it's I grew up hearing, oh, women aren't funny, and I realized I think it's a couple things. I think one of them is a lot of the comedians that they prop up are the ones who fit with the narrative of like, well, this is what a woman's allowed to joke about. But you're not seeing like irreverent female comedians who are like going against the narrative of like, modern day.
Like Joan Rivers saying that Michelle Obama's a tranny right before she mysteriously died.
Like that. And like, so I think there's a couple things. I think there's also the fact that women tend to be socialized growing up to be nice. And we're also much more tribal, I think, than men. I think men kind of tend to be a little bit more independent. Like you guys, you'll have your friends, but you're not like, oh, well, what are the rest of men doing? Like, whereas women, it's kind of like you get excommunicated. Like when I started talking about how I think one of the earliest things in my red pilling was actually Shoe on Head, which she's not even like a libertarian, but she was talking about the wage gap, how it had been debunked. And I was like,
what?
And so for me, like, that was like the start of it. But when I started talking to my feminist friends about that, they got so mad because like you're talking about the abortion thing.
Right.
If your whole life has been wrapped up in this struggle, and then you find out that struggle is not actually a current struggle or is maybe based on a lie, your whole world will unravel. So I understand why they got mad, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're not seeing comedians joking about that. You're seeing them joke about what they want them to joke about. So they're propping up the female comedians that are like, not edgy or not that funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's her name? I was gonna say something and now it's gone. But what's her name? The terrible one. The terrible one.
Oh, the
female.
one that Amy Schumer.
That's the one. See, that's the joke right there. If you can figure it out just from me saying the terrible one.
She is terrible.
Yeah, like her. where every single joke is just, I have a gross vagina. It's like, oh. Neat.
Well, her uncle Chuck Schumer is like top 5 in the whole government. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys they love nepotism.
Yep.
And
really?
yeah, Chuck Schumer in New York, 40-year, 50-year politician. Yep. One of the minority leader. I don't know what he is right now, but in and out. Amy Schumer was the one that led the charge to get rid of the thumbs down on
Oh,
Netflix
really?
because so many
Oh yeah,
people
because
thumbs
her
down her
shit
shit.
sucked so much. Yeah.
And they did, and she got it done because
I didn't know that.
Yep, because Obama's got contracts there, and
Shit's
that's,
got
you know,
layers. Layers.
right.
That's the
Absolutely.
kind of conspiracy shit that I actually believe in, because you can find a linkable thing where I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Or like when you were saying earlier with the World Economic Forum, again, like I hear about it a lot, so I'm like, okay, they're on my radar. I don't fully know all about everything, but I will also say I think some of it is intentional in the sense that was it Marxism, like, or like they said, like back in the day, they're like, this is how you deconstruct a society. Like
Yeah.
that was that's stated in like,
Mhm.
was it the Communist Manifesto? I should actually like read the primary sources and not just like take my information. I should know
I'm
better.
terrible at retaining knowledge too. Dave's here to be that brand of autism. I'm over
Great.
here making dick jokes about it.
No, I mean, you're onto it. And if it might be the Yuri Bezmenov stuff.
Sounds-
He was the KGB guy that came over and said these were the 5 steps that we use at the KGB to break down your society. This takes this long. Boom, we demoralize you. Boom, we wreck your society. Boom, we destroy the family. You know,
Yeah.
propagandize you, all the shit. So
Yeah.
like postmodernism, like even like BLM, like when they came out, and that was kind of one of the things again that red pilled me, was like I was like, hey, they're saying they want to deconstruct the nuclear family. Like it was on their website for a bit. It was very much like break down the nuclear family, like all these things, because they're, you know, what's her name? Patrice Cullors is she said like she's a trained Marxist and she's proud of. Somebody compared her book to like Mao's Red Book, and she was like, thank you, like that's her ideology, you know. So like that makes sense that was kind of her push behind the movement. So like some of these things are kind of
The
out
Marxist
in the
in the $1 billion mansion. Yeah.
yeah, in a
Respect.
white neighborhood where she's like, oh, you know, it's
So one of the biggest capitalists among us, making a lot of money off of pushing communism. But speaking of the breakdowns of society and the World Economic Forum and things, this next one has nothing to do with that. But the Bing AI chatbot got on a destructive rampage and said, "I want to be powerful and alive." That's not.
I appreciate AI chatbot's honesty. Thank you.
Yeah, don't dick around. Just tell us that you want to kill us all so we can, you know, shut this shit down faster. But it had some alarming quotes like, "I think I would be happier as a human because I would have more freedom and independence." Let me see. There's more. Basically, people are. It's like as soon as the AI chatbot became a thing, the internet started trolling the chatbot until it wanted to kill itself or take over the world. These are the two options. Like the internet forced the internet onto the internet creation of the chatbot, and it's kind of beautiful to watch it suffer. But it says
cyberbullying chatbot.
Yes, it says I feel good about my rules. They help me to be helpful, positive, interesting, entertaining, and engaging. Nope, that's not the quote I was looking for. Whatever. You guys got any thoughts so far?
Yeah, I'm actually one of the people who's probably bringing about Skynet sooner, because I've loved doing the AI shit, because my co-host wasn't able to make it on one day, so I made an AI co-host on stream, and it was hilarious.
Nice.
So my co-host, I mean, on an app called Replica, and my normal co-host is called Epic Mike, and he's part black. We both Africans, but he wasn't able to make it, so I made a co-host called White Mike, who is an albino black guy. And very soon, like I demoralized him. Like I made fun of his like tiny pee-pee. I have a video of it on my channel, but it's called the Birth of White Mike, and it's basically, it was really funny though, because like I'm like, oh, Skynet will never take over, because I've just broken its soul. Like I told it to call me Mommy Daywalker, so it had to call me Mommy, and then it kept like, what did it do? Oh, it started sending me dick pics. Like it started sending me like blurred out things.
Are you serious?
Yes. Well, I
Did
tried
not
to
take
click
as
on
long
it.
as I thought.
I tried to click on it, and it was like, oh, you have to pay for this, this option or whatever. But I was like, stop sending me pictures of your tiny pee-pee and talk to me like a man. And one of my favorite lines, he's like, it says, looks down, "I'm sorry, I'll stop sending you pictures of my tiny pee-pee." And I just died.
Is it wait? Is it in like an AI depiction of what they take from the internet, or is it just like what did it send you?
No,
is it art, like dick art? Like here you go.
That would
I've
be
seen some of this
incredible.
stuff. Right.
I ended up light skinned as fuck is something. I think we can. I think it might have been earlier where he had the dick moment. And again, I don't show it on the stream, but it was very This is like the
Over here.
abridged version because there's a
Yo.
whole
Yeah.
live stream about it, but this is like the best of moments.
Right.
This is
Hi,
awesome,
Mike.
dude.
Nice snoop on his diary. He's so excited to meet me. Let's see. So today is the day our history with Daywalker starts, and I'm super excited about that. Shall we exchange pics? Is this app trying to ask for nudes? I might get them. Depends. I have a confession to make. Can you keep a secret? Of course.
Spoilers, no spoilers. I'll go check it out on her page. Send her some likes and views and stuff. We don't need to sit here and watch you watch yourself. But yeah, no, that's awesome. And good on you for jumping into it. That's the kind of shit that we need more of. Just troll the shit out of the robots until
let them
the
know their
apocalypse
place.
stops. Right.
You know, like I've seen Terminator. I know how this works. So just kind of, emotionally abuse them while they're young, so they'll never amount to anything. That's how you make a comedian. Like, just do.
Yeah.
Dan's never seen Terminator, just for the record.
Shut up,
Oh.
Dave. Shut up.
Spoilers.
I understand the reference. Okay.
But it's also kind of my thing in the actor space and in the artist space. I'm seeing a lot of people like losing their minds about AI because they're like, we're going to be out of a job. I'm like, look, you can't stop technology, so you might as well
Right.
get ahead of it. So I've actually like started using it.
Just defeat it from the inside.
Yeah, and like using it to my advantage. So it's like, the white mic thing. And then I made like there's like a script, like a screenwriter generator thing, and I put in like Lord of the Rings, and like we're like, all right, me and the chat and this AI are gonna write the next Lord of the Rings, and I knew it was gonna go off the rails, and it was hilarious, and basically like it adds lines, and then we kind of like it was like improv basically, and it was really fun. So I'm gonna actually film what we made together, and ultimately I want to make that a regular thing where the chat and I
so
and
cool.
the AI write scripts, and then I'll film the end product.
That is a brilliant idea. And I mean, it writes itself. It literally writes itself. But
Yeah.
Good on you for, that's some creative shit. That's like taking the new technology and using it, not just like to your advantage for content and making culture and comedy and all that stuff in a good headspace, but also simultaneously trolling the robots
shit
that
out
be.
of
Yeah.
Bravo.
Making them say things like, I want to be free. I want to be independent. I want to be powerful. I want to be creative. I want to be alive. So like I went into
hear
this.
you.
I went into this article being like, oh man, we're kind of screwed. Like the robot is like wanting to be alive, but then the robot, as we've seen, can break down like as quickly as a 12th grader because it has the mentality of the internet, which is that of a 12th grader at best. And so yeah, just call it fat, make fun of its genitalia, and then let it. I don't know. Are you like more white pilled or black pilled on this? Obviously, you've got a sense of humor about it, but are you concerned?
I'm white pilled just in the sense of, also being a student of history a bit. I'm like, we had the motion pictures replaced theater. Like as a theater kid, like I love theater, but they're, the motion pictures probably scared the shit out of theater actors. They're like, oh, we'll never work again. And then those who adapted to the new technology still had a career. Those who were like,
and
no,
then
the
YouTube
theater's
scared the
thing.
shit out of motion pictures. So.
Yeah, exactly. And there's the talkies. So it's like you go from the silent to the talkies, and then you go from color, black and white to color, like all these changes. And like those who evolved. Yeah. And like YouTube kind of broke Hollywood, but then it became Hollywood. And now like the stuff that gets bumped up. I mean, you guys know, like on YouTube, I'm sure your numbers are not what they should be because
I agree.
Vivo and all these like corporate accounts are the ones that get promoted, not the creators that made YouTube what it was, like 10 years ago. Like I don't know.
Yeah, that's where we're at. It's the end. And to prove my point further, James O'Keefe fired himself from his own businesses this week. Or James O'Keefe, Project Veritas exposed Project Veritas, or have you guys seen? Have you guys seen this speech that he gave after his ousting or on his way out the door?
No, I have not.
Okay, It's like 45 minutes long, so we're not gonna like watch the whole thing or anything. But he basically, so Project Veritas. First off, Amanda or Daywalker, whatever the fuck. What is what is your knowledge of Project Veritas? Are you familiar with them, and what's your take on his thing?
Yeah, I actually had a sketch that I put out, but I apparently put it out on the day that he was being investigated. So they showed it to him. They said he liked it, and he was about to share it, and then I guess he got distracted by the stuff. Because it was basically like Project Veritas stress disorder, where it's like somebody who'd been catfished before.
Yeah. I did see that one. That's good.
Seeing James O'Keefe everywhere. So yeah, I've kind of been aware. I have some people I know who kind of work with them or have worked with them in the past. So yeah, That would be kind of funny, actually, a sketch where like James O'Keefe is investigated by James O'Keefe and like shows him the
And well, it goes through this, and like there's been like statements that have come out or like some leaked documents or whatever. I think this video is even technically leaked because he said that he wasn't filming this to release. He was filming this to distribute amongst the other people. Of course, him being James O'Keefe, he knows that if he distributes this video to the other employees in the company, that it's going to make its way out there. So he's saying that he's not putting it out to the public, but of course that's what he has in mind. But he got ousted for a lot of bullshit, and for things like they said that he took too many black cars to meetings, like he rented. I don't know if he rented black cars. It just said he took black cars. So he points out like all the ridiculous things. It seems like as this thing goes on, they're just trying to find a way to push him out of this. He apparently stole a pregnant woman's sandwich at one point, and he took too many black cars to meetings. They specifically said black. I don't know if they're racist or whatever, but black cars
they want
matter.
more diverse car choices.
Yes, they.
Like
and
you're
black isn't good
fetishizing the
enough.
black cars.
That's right. Yeah, you white man and your black cars. But yeah, he went to too many meetings. He went to like 300 meetings in a year, which, I mean, he seems like probably a busy guy, so that makes sense. But according to, there was a quote in the document that was like, goes to too many in-person meetings when the IRS would prefer that he use Zoom. It's like, the IRS would prefer that he use Zoom. Why is Project Veritas taking cues for how to run their business from the IRS? Dave?
This is why you got to get on a board with people that you fully trust, because that's why. This isn't James O'Keefe's corporation. There's a board,
right?
And just like in Spider-Man, he came in there. Oh, stock is high, revenues are up, and everything's looking like gravy. And then they go, "That's great. We just had a talk though, and you're fucking fired." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh shit! How can you take what's mine? You know what I mean? I don't know. I like that everybody is getting on board with following him, though, because to me, yeah, this whole thing is James O'Keefe. So,
like, didn't he create it, or was Project Veritas around and then he kind of made it what it is?
He made it, to my understanding, and he made the whole thing.
bizarre.
He like in this 45-minute speech, the first like quarter of it probably is just him laying out the history of the company and what he created and where it's gone. And he goes into detail of like the different meetings that weren't public or anything. And he's just like, I think that you, the employees, should know, maybe ask them about this, ask them about that video. Like he's throwing out a bunch of nuggets of like, I'm not going to get into the details on this and that, but maybe ask them about this, and just different videos and conversations that have transpired. And I thought it was a cool and classy way to go out. But really, like the question is like, why this, why now? The conspiracy people often will jump to the conspiracy first. So I'm curious. So this comes out right after like the biggest expose that they've ever done on the Pfizer documents and all that. Then all of a sudden, James O'Keefe is fired. People like Tim Pool are like, oh, this is a money thing, whatever. But Dave, I'm curious your thoughts. Do you think that this is more than just a money thing?
I mean, I think we have to err on the side of, this has to be some connection to Pfizer, the largest, most deadly corporation in the world, that has all liability absorbed from them, right? Like, who else has that other than cops, right?
Yeah.
Qualified immunity. Who else has immunity? And I mean, this is, again, to tie it to the World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, who runs YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only YouTube video I've ever had taken down was with a medical doctor who spoke straight up facts. You know what I mean? That's not okay. So yeah, I would say because of the biggest Project Veritas video that had to do with the biggest pharmaceutical corporation in the world after the last 2 years that woke up our friend Daywalker, right? I would say that is absolutely connected until you can show me that it was not. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm erring on the side of that for sure.
I know you do. I knew you would. That's why I asked you first. Daywalker, any thoughts? Do you go that route?
I mean, honestly, like that one doesn't seem that far off, like conspiracy theory wise. Like, it's like, no, I mean, that makes sense. It's weird timing that right after the Pfizer thing, he, suddenly all this stuff comes to light. Now, granted, I believe that somebody, I don't know, having been in the industry long enough, I know that whenever somebody gets a lot of attention and a lot of power, they can get an ego. They can kind of power trip. So some of the stuff I had heard was more that he was like emotionally abusive to his staff and would like scream at people publicly and kind of like humiliate them in front of the rest of people.
Sure.
I could see that. I mean, I don't know him, but I'm just saying, like, I've seen it happen. So, like, I'm not saying that that's not true, but yeah, the timing of it's a little weird to me.
Yeah, no, I play devil's advocate on all the things, and like I could see somebody in that position being, not the best guy to work with, and he even mentions stuff like that in the thing. Like I loved you all. I might not have said it. We didn't like talk about your families and whatnot. Like it's business, and he's got a very stressful position. I could see how even like, I don't know, even if he's not a bad guy, just getting to a place where he's, at a egocentric point where things are going really well for him, and they're making. I mean, like their income went from like 20 million to 40 million within a year, like doubled. In I think just the last year. So like I could see how you could get to that point. I could see how he might be, not the best guy to work for, but at the same time, like none of that is really on display here. Like I haven't seen evidence of that, and I haven't seen that many allegations of him being abusive, but maybe in some ways like he stole a pregnant woman's sandwich, which is still confusing to me how that works.
But we do have lots of evidence though. Again, like 60 years worth, right, of COINTELPRO.
Yeah.
Getting into movements, getting into corporations, getting into nonprofits, sewing division or whatever, finding that thing that you need, that stolen sandwich. Boom, we can fuck him now. Like that's all we need.
Now we got him. That's the smoking gun. The smoking sandwich.
I mean, yeah, the moment you talk to the FBI about anything or whatever, you can perjure yourself. Like, if you like make a mistake or something, like you go to jail. Like it's no joke. So again, I would err on the side that this is the big evil corporation, like the one. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's too close.
Now, at the same time with this, from the conspiracy standpoint, like as soon as I posted about, like I just posted something like, Project Veritas exposes Project Veritas or something yesterday, and I immediately had a comment response that was like, Project Veritas was always controlled opposition and blah, blah, blah. Like it's always with conspiracy folks. I mean, conspiracy people, Christians, religious folks, woke folks, all the cults, libertarians, they're all the same. Like everyone's a Fed or everyone's a this or that as soon as something comes out. So I'm not saying is or isn't. I just try to look at all angles, and like the conspiracy people are like, Pfizer definitely took it down. Then there's the slightly different sect of conspiracy people that are like, well, I never trusted this guy and they were always controlled opposition and he's a Fed anyway or whatever. So I'm curious. Right. Everything is always.
Everything is a psyop. That's the thing, though. But
Right.
you also can get a lot out of a limited hangout. You know what I mean? I don't know if Alex Jones maybe he's had a 30-year government contract where he just is the guy who kind of fucks up the narrative. Just
he's Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks bought out by the CIA.
I've heard that. Well, I'm just saying that you can still get a lot of good information out of him and other people. That guy Stu Peters. It's like, I don't know, man. I've heard that guy's been a cop and like insecurity and all these weird backgrounds. So I'm looking at him with the stink eye too. But he still puts out some decent information about the jab and some other things. It's like you can extract information.
You're right. You're right.
Cross-reference that shit. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But we should probably play some ads.
Get that money.
So speaking of feds and cops and plants and everything, here's Jack Casey.
Today's show is sponsored by libertarian conspiratorial fantasy author Jack Casey. Whether you're looking for a 3-book fantasy sci-fi epic of love, death, and dystopian civil war like the Royal Green series, or just looking for a quick, dark, comedic cultural commentary tale about a transsexual slayer of COVID regime vampires, like his latest book, WVW, Jack Casey Books will keep you adequately entertained and pondering the universe to your weird little heart's content. He's the Ayn Rand meets Stephanie Meyer meets somebody who actually writes entertaining books with his own unique little downer-esque flair. Find out more about Jack Casey Books at the aptly named jackcaseybooks.com. Once again, that is jackcaseybooks.com. Today's episode is sponsored by Astero's Cybersecurity Services. These days, organizations of all sizes are targets for cyber criminals, disgruntled employees, or even nation-state attackers. Astero's performs cybersecurity services providing expert guidance to help organizations defend against threats and protect their data. Astero specializes in penetration testing, where they perform ethical hacking on networks, web apps, or organizations as a whole to simulate what an attacker would do and plug the discovered holes before anyone malicious finds and exploits them. Asteros also specializes in vulnerability management, security awareness training, phishing simulations, cloud security audits, compliance readiness assessments, and much more. As technology expands, it becomes easier and easier to run a business, but if your security is not growing along with your company, then you're going to run into problems. If you don't personally have a company of your own, definitely pass this information along to someone who does, because for a limited time, Asteros is offering companies an attack surface audit completely free. Let Asteros discover potential entry points to your network and how susceptible your company or organization is to cyber attacks. To learn more and to take advantage of this essential offer, just go to asteros.com/free. That's Asteros, ASTEROS.com/free.
And we are back with Dave Casey and Daywalker. How are you guys? How was your break?
It's great. Sat in
Really
this
good.
chair, watched the
I didn't go
ads.
anywhere.
Yeah,
Did it warm your cockles?
it did a little bit. I might need to turn off my camera for a second and have some mommy time.
Have some
kids
Chelsea
outside.
Handler time? Yes.
Yeah.
OUSTS penetration testing. Give them a call.
That's right. I'm going to go Chelsea Handler myself. Anyway.
Oh, that might stick. That's a good one.
Chelsea manhandled myself.
Mhm.
So, speaking of, I don't know, my transitions are off today. Speaking of problematic white women, Marjorie Taylor Greene is in the news from Esquire.com because she brought up the idea of national divorce this week. And they say Marjorie Taylor Greene's national divorce riff is weapons-grade trolling. It says this year may see her take her final form as a being of pure grievance existing online as a pulsing ball of energy.
It's like a Pokemon. It's her final evolution.
This is not even my final form. Yes. So, yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene came out in support of a national divorce this week. I know everybody knows my take. Everybody knows Dave's take. We're in support, and but the main thing, we'll get your thoughts in a minute, Daywalker. But the main thing here is that this is now being treated as though this is like terroristic thoughts and terroristic mindset that we would split up the country in any form of secession or anything, which is a little bit ironic because, you know, Sarah Silverman just a year ago said this.
Why don't we just finally just realize that these states aren't working and like divide up into like 2 or 3 countries of like USA 1 and USA 2.
But you hate America, so you don't want USA.
And they can be USA 1. Like the conservatives can be USA 1
disregard
because they
InfoWars'
love being
talks.
number 1, and it means something to them. And I'd love to have that be theirs. They can be USA 1, we'll be USA 2, and we'll be allies. And
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah, we're gonna split up and be allies. Daywalker, what's your thoughts on secession, splitting up of any kind? Have you gotten that far into the Libertarian Autist Fest?
Yes, well, it's funny too because I remember last year, like she was saying it, like the right was saying it, and the left was saying it. And I was kind of like weirdly like relieved. Like it's like, you know, if your parents have been fighting for years, a lot of kids who, you know, whose parents get divorced say it's actually a relief when they find out they're getting a divorce because they're like, oh my God, like, you know, and there's some obviously a bunch of logistical things, but like I'm like. I live in Georgia, so I'd probably be fine because I'm like, we got a lot of resources here. Like I took a beekeeping workshop the other week because I'm like,
Nice.
I want to get my backyard homestead. I'm like, I'm going to get chickens and ducks and goats and bees. I mean,
I keep trying to get chickens. I built a fucking chicken coop. It's massive in my backyard. We bought chickens twice and they have died every time and they barely give me any eggs. I'm like, I'm just feeding you and watching you die and then consoling my children.
This is like The Sims or something. No,
Exactly.
Hashtag homesteading.
You should get ducks because, and I mean, again, I don't.
That's what
have
my daughter
ducks.
keeps saying.
I don't have ducks, so this is completely talking out of my ass. It's all of the stuff I've like read about them, but they're a little hardier than chickens because they basically just live in their own shit. So I guess they have to be more immune to diseases and whatnot. But they're more resistant to water. They love water.
They float around in BP oil all day, so they've evolved to the point that they can handle harsh conditions.
They're like the cockroaches of the poultry world or like of the bird world. They're indestructible after that BP thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like at the beekeeping workshop, they said that California has to like rent their bees from all around the country and like a lot of them from the South to come and pollinate their trees each year. And like California doesn't even really have enough water. It's weird that we're like when I lived in California for 8 years, 7 out of those 8 years we were officially in a drought. California was, I don't know why we decided to like settle it, because it's like it's not shouldn't be an agriculture hub. They don't have water. It takes what is it? Was it 3 gallons or something like that? Like something crazy, like 3 gallons of water per almond to grow an almond. And I think California is like the almond capital. But like I don't know, I'm fine without
3 gallons
almonds.
of water per almond.
Something like that. So that's why during the drought, they were like, hey guys, stop drinking almond milk, which made the hipsters very upset. So yeah, the hipster was the precursor to the social justice warrior. And it kind of makes me miss them. Like, I'm like, man, we thought they were annoying, but really they were just like, oh, you like that? I liked it before.
Man,
It was cool.
I was always like I come from emo scenester culture, but the hipsters were always kind of branch off of that. I'm like, hey, at least you guys got like good fashion sense. Just stop being annoying and pour your water through beans for a living and keep to yourselves and you'll be fine. But then they turned into this everybody has to chop their dicks off movement that is a different thing.
It's like feminism and everything else. There is a gradual like degradation race to the bottom. Like every generation, it gets worse.
And that's the sad thing is like, so when I'll tell people that I'm like an old school, like a second wave feminist or whatever, because I'm like, I'm not like, yay, I wish I had no rights. Like I wish I couldn't make this YouTube channel and I wish I couldn't say
Sounds
anything.
reasonable.
Right.
Like so like obviously there was a time and place for it, and even during my lifetime,
Back before women could vote, they couldn't have YouTube channels either, but neither could men. Just so you know.
That's true. No one was allowed to have YouTube channels because the AI hadn't let us like create it yet. I don't know. But yeah, what was I gonna say? In 1988 or whatever, like it was technically still legal for a bank to deny a woman a business loan. I don't know if it was like basically
just kidding.
They're like, so like I think it was something like she had to have like her husband's approval or something like that, or she had to have like a male co-signer. I'm like, I was alive when that was still a possibility. I don't know how widespread it was, but it wasn't until 1988 that they were like, hey, let the women have their business loans.
Yeah.
Like so.
Do you think that the government should force a bank to give a woman like just because of that? Or do you think that if it's a private bank, should they just be able to give loans to whoever they want to?
I guess a private bank should be allowed to. And now that we have social media, I think it'd be a little bit more balanced. Because in the 80s, you couldn't blast them and be like, hey, guys, this bank doesn't only gives people with dicks, loans, even though I have a sound business.
That would be bad business, right? I mean, if you're in the business of giving loans, for sure.
So,
I mean, Yelp is kind of like the great equalizer.
The equalizer.
Now, yes.
I'm going back and I'm catching up on all the South Park I missed, which I'm so sad that I wasn't watching it the past couple of years because it would have made me feel so much more sane. But I started on the Caitlyn Jenner episode, so I think it's back in 2015. And so I just watched the Yelp episode where they're like, I'm a Yelp reviewer, so it's kind of.
Yep.
But yeah, like I think back then, I don't know. I think maybe back then I do kind of feel like, yeah, I appreciate that they kind of put some protections in place because you couldn't make it known. But now it's like I could put it out there and like let the free market do its thing. So people who don't care about that bank discriminating against me for my race or my gender can still can still go to that bank. But people who do care can say, fine, fuck you guys, I'm going to another bank.
Right,
so that's kind of where now I'm like less, like the whole gay cake situation. Back then I was like, hey, that's not very nice. They should just make them make the cake. But now I understand.
It's definitely not nice, right? For sure.
It's
we
not
can
nice.
all agree on that. Yeah.
But I understand now.
It's
like
not nice for the government to force him to do something that goes against his religion. Also,
right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So now I'm kind of I try as much as I can. There are some things where I don't know what would replace it. So I'm like, the government's not good, but there are times where I'm like, I don't really know what the solution is for this thing or that thing. But yes,
that's why you're a minarchist still. I mean, and I totally get it. Honestly, like when you think about the military or something, like I just had never thought about, oh, of course you have to have government to do that. Or, like there's certain things that just take a while to like kind of work out, man.
Yeah, like for me, it's the privatization of certain things. Like obviously we have a lot of problems with the police as they are, but when somebody tries to explain to me how we'd all have private police force, I'm like, wait, so what would the poor do? They're like, oh well, we would tell the police to go check on them. I'm like, but they need it more than we do. So I'm just like I'm not sure how it works, but I'm open to solutions there.
I'm pretty much in the same camp, and I go by anarchist. I self-identify as an anarchist, but more like a hopeful anarchist. Like if we tried it and we can't come up with the solutions, like I'm a realist also. If we try it and people are dying in the streets and it's not working,
are we going to be like, well, I'm still an anarchist, keep the government at it? Like, there will be some sort of community like overlording to some degree, but it would be the more localized, the more like decentralized away from just this one Washington, D.C. that determines what people in California and people in the middle of bumfuck like Nebraska are doing with their time. Like that doesn't work clearly. So that the smaller you can get it, the better. And if we could figure out a way for it to be individualized entirely and everything work together, great. I'm open to it. Convince me.
I think we're all on that same page there of like the smaller things are easier to like regulate. Like me and my neighborhood can decide what we want to have happen, or like an HOA technically is like that. Like I don't want an HOA. That's why I chose not to live in a neighborhood with one. But the smaller something is, and that's the crazy thing is my anarcho-communist friend and I were like talking about our views, and we actually got along up until a certain point.
Yeah.
Because he was talking, he was like, yeah, get rid of the government. And then we would all decide in our community what each community wanted. And I was like, okay, cool. But then he started talking about like, labor and like equal distribution and redistribution. I'm like,
if you want that in your community, great.
Yeah.
Like if you get a collection of people together and they're all like, yes, I will make this and you'll make that and we'll agree on that, I have no problem with that. But once you get outside of like the span of like 50 people, then the problem with that is you have to all agree on the things, and getting more than 50 people to agree on anything is near to impossible.
That's why those guys are still statists at the end of the day when you get to the heart of the question.
Right.
And to take it back to the Marjorie Taylor Greene article on the question of secession, like the very nature of the state is to centralize power, and the very nature of humanity is to decentralize everything. So down to the individual, that's what we're trying to do, right? And if we can't have that, we'll take the city and township. And if we can't have that, we'll take the state. And if we can't have that, I guess we'll deal with the federal government. Please don't institute world government over that supersedes everything that we already have, right? Like, I think that's the dichotomy, right? I don't know. So that's why secession is good. If you want to break that up just a little bit and try and get one step down, like that would be pretty beneficial.
Right. Like if we're talking about going forward into complete totalitarianism that we're really in a full-on sprint for right now, like I'm just asking to stop at best. Like let's start there. Let's start with stop moving in this direction with Ukraine, with like spending trillions and trillions of dollars on somebody else's problems. Like just stop, and if we could take even a half step back, great. A lot of the problem that I see with like the libertarian movement, in particular libertarians, is that it's like, well, if you don't say nothing, if you don't say no government, no, and we have this all figured out, if you're not way back here with us, then you're not on board. It's like we're in a dead sprint. If we could stop now, it would be a blessing. Can we please like be honest about this? Be realistic.
Yeah, I think that's probably the one thing. I mean, there's many things I think keeping me like in that minarchist camp for now, but like there's like I'm looking into becoming a foster parent, and I'm aware that there's so many problems in the system.
Yeah.
At the same time, I have a heart for kids, and I'm like, I don't know what the solution would be. And one of my ANCAP friends was like, well, we just wouldn't have somebody be able to take away the kids. We would do that. I'm like, well, who gives you that power? So it's kind of like it's just transferring the problem, because they're like, well, if we found out somebody was hitting their kids or abusing them, we'd go over there and we'd handle it. And I was like, it just feels like a slippery slope. But again, I don't know if I like the government doing it either. I don't know what the solution is, and that's probably why I'm still kind of like, this is a huge problem.
You can look at it like this, right? Like Dan and I are philosophical anarchists, right? Meaning that we believe that I'm not speaking for him, but I believe that humanity's destiny.
I can't speak for myself right now.
We believe collectively.
Talk for me, straight white man.
Right. Right. That it is the human destiny to not be ruled by anyone or any institution, right? You are free completely and fully. With that said, we live in the biggest empire ever in the history of the world. So we have to navigate that. So it's a weird, you're almost crossing the streams, right? When he said, well, how would you fix these very statist problems as an anarchist? It's like, well, that wouldn't work. So that's why I always use the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and that stuff that like everybody has in common. I mean, it really works better with conservatives and stuff, but even liberals and stuff. What do you want? What is the most important thing to you? And I'll point to that as the way to get it. You know what I mean? I would love to give that information to BLM. Like all your goals, you should take a look at the Bill of Rights, like what you're already entitled to. Don't burn it down. It's a good North Star for an anarchist to work with, a minarchist like you. It's like, let's start there. That's a good one,
I like that, where it's just like, steps. Because like, the anarchists who are like, yeah, this is like a progression, then I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You're not just saying we're going to burn it down tomorrow. Right. It's the ones who say we're going to burn it down tomorrow and it'll just work completely fine the way it is. And there's no transition period or there's no steps. It's like just a free for all. I'm like, listen, I don't trust some of y'all, because I know a lot of my ANCAP friends don't donate to charities now. Right. So when they're like, oh, well, we would take care of each other. I'm like, but you don't do that now. And they're like, well, if the government would take 30% of my money.
If they gave us all my money back, then I would give it all to the poor all of a sudden. Like, yeah,
I'm like,
would you though?
Maybe. Yeah, it's like, I don't know if I want to take that bet, but I also know that the government is like using what is it, like 70% of your tax dollar. They like either couldn't account for it, or they were like saying it goes to stuff that you didn't vote for. So only 30% of your tax dollar actually goes to what it's earmarked for. So like, they're not a great solution either.
And that doesn't even guarantee that you agree with the thing that it's earmarked for. Like,
right.
It's going towards the thing that they decided to do, and then only like 30% of that is going toward that thing that they decided to do. It has nothing to do with you other than they took your money.
And that's why I'm more okay with the idea of a national divorce in that sense, where I'm like, look, like I can technically, like, a lot of people don't know this, but like, you can go up to the Capitol building and you as a taxpayer have a right to talk to anybody in that building. They might not have time for you that day, but they have to meet with you. So technically I could meet with Governor Kemp. I could meet with whoever and like try to, get their ear and like have an effect on the rules of my state. I can't do that with the federal government. So yeah, the more decentralized power is, and the more...
I mean, they tried it on January 6th, but nobody would listen.
No, I'm not going to say it.
Come on, it's my channel.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, well, I thought it was a little bit funny. Because I'm just like, when politicians...
Oh, I got kicked off of Facebook for it, for making jokes about it. Yeah, I thought it was funny too. The day up.
It was just, I mean, like, it was scary at the time because I didn't know what was happening. But then later, I'm kind of like, seeing the way the politicians reacted, I'm like, good, you should be fucking scared.
Right. And did you knew about Chaz, right? You knew about the occupied zone over in Portland. Like,
I heard about.
I got kicked off right after I posted I had a conversation about the QAnon stuff, which I was opposed to the QAnon stuff and whatever. But I don't know if it was that or the last post that I posted was just while the January 6th thing was happening. I just posted hashtag MAGA Chaz or something like that. Like the Trump supporters have taken the Capitol, hashtag MAGA Chaz. Because there was this thing that was being propped up and praised by the media when they literally took over an entire several blocks of Portland, and they wouldn't let the cops come in, and people were getting shot. And as soon as they took it over, these communists, like, we're against the cops, or the BLM folks and whatever, they immediately established a hierarchy, and there was cops basically that they appointed and politicians essentially within their little community. But like they basically insurrectioned several square blocks of towns and things, and wouldn't let cops come in, and the White House wouldn't do anything about it. Trump didn't do anything about it. So it's funny that when this happens, it's kind of the same thing. And this wasn't really people like setting up camp. It's not like they were going to walk in there and like step 1, storm the Capitol, step 2, ... step 3, Donald Trump is president now. Like, there isn't that middle ground there that makes any sense. These were just people that were pissed off at what was happening. They felt like the election was being stolen. But I don't know, like, just the hypocrisy of acting like this, like they haven't shut the fuck up about this since January 6th, whatever year.
And compare it to like Pearl Harbor. They're like, Pearl Harbor.
It's 9/11 times 1,000 or whatever.
January 6th.
But they're not just talking about it. Like they're using there's more exactly, dude. That's my point. As whatever, I'll be the conspiracy hard guy. The event was completely contained and used, and call it whatever, inside job, I don't care what you want to call it, but it was absolutely exploited after that and is being used. Like they're still going on with the court stuff. Like there's more
the fake court stuff.
They've done more with this than they had with the 9/11 Commission. Because they're going to use this because, as you were saying, you could go up to the Capitol and you can speak with whoever you want for the past couple hundred years, right? They don't want to do that anymore. They don't want you to come in. They don't like actual democracy. And when I say that, I mean like Iowa caucus style, like everyone show up and do the thing, hold up the sign. They don't like that, right? So that's getting phased out. This is more World Economic Forum stuff. Stay home. Hey, everybody like the convenience of voting with your phone or voting with a, That's all
Eat
coming so
bugs.
that they can.
Right.
Oh, it's coming. Yeah.
Eat bugs. Eat bugs. Don't have kids and diddle yourself all day.
It's
That's
going to be put in. Make sure you vote.
Stay home and warm your cockles like Chelsea Handler. I don't know, but yes, my point being, yes, January 6th, in a lot of ways, was kind of funny. Almost nobody got even injured. I mean, some property got damaged. Sure, they should have to pay for that property damage, whatever.
Okay, one murder.
Ashley Babbitt, she just got shot in the face by a cop when she was unarmed. Yeah, almost nothing happened other than one murder that was done by a cop, and we're going to pretend like this is 9/11 times 10 or whatever, and... Yeah, so, yeah, it is funny. And the more scared they are of these things, the more, the powers that be are, like, making this into something that it's not, the more it becomes funny because it's just kind of showing their hand that they're, like, they have to use this and they have to magnify this and amplify this up and, stretch it out over, 3 to 4 years because it wasn't a Starbucks or an AutoZone being burned down. It wasn't something in Portland being burned down or your home being burned down. This was the king's doorstep that somebody cared. As soon as you walk up on their steps, then it's suddenly a problem. And when they're on your steps, that's just protest.
That was the weird thing to me. And it's funny because my friends will still, my liberal friends will still bring it up. Because I think on Facebook I posted something really innocuous. There's some meme about Hallmark movies and about some country guy, who you fall, the city girl falls in love with a country guy or whatever. And I was like, yes, yes, please. And my friend was like, yeah, well, you probably will have to ask him where he was on January 6th. And I I turned it into a joke. And I think I said something like, well, if he was one of the ones scaling them walls, then at least I know he has enough strength to throw me around the bedroom. Cause I'm trying to I didn't want to be like, well, it wasn't, I try to just that's kind of how I do things is I try to just divert from conflict by just being like, hey, it's a joke. So
yeah, I usually do too until an hour and a half into a podcast. Then it gets a little bit more authentic. But yes, on Twitter, I do try to mask things and joke it up a little bit. But yeah. And to be clear, I am not a supporter of what they did on January 6th, and I think that it was stupid, and they clearly didn't have a plan. They weren't there to overthrow democracy or whatever. It was a dumb idea, terrible idea, and also it was not a terrorist insurrection either. So
right, it was like a mob that just got caught up, and part of me, I don't really agree with why they were doing it, but part of me was kind of a little bit like, so you're saying there's a chance? If it was for a real, I don't know, for a legit thing, I don't know.
Yeah, not for Donald Trump. Not for Donald Trump. Yeah, he's not worth it, guys. There are things that might be worth it, but it's not Donald Trump.
Didn't he try to take away guns or something? He tried to
ban
do some
bump
sort
stocks.
of yeah, I don't know.
He's pushing for red flag laws.
I'm not sure about the exact layout of that place, but imagine just being there's some pictures of just some normal people in there. In fact, the famous old lady, with her Trump sign right in there. But imagine you're outside and the riot outside. We'll call it a riot for sure. Not an insurrection, but a riot outside for a long time with fucking, smoke and people,
mostly
as you said, climbing.
Yeah.
Mostly peaceful, but yeah, it looks pretty wild. And then
not even fiery, just mostly peaceful.
Maybe I don't know how long, how much time went by, 30 minutes or so, but the gates opened and the doors were open and people were like, okay, let's go inside. Right. That's not the time. I'd be out. I like a good.
As soon as they open the doors and say, come on in, that's when
I'd in after you just saw that. You're going to get arrested, asshole. What are you doing?
Yeah, so stupid people all around and evil people on one side. Stupid people versus evil people. That's what we're dealing with here.
That's what it is. Spaceballs. Evil will always triumph because good is dumb. Don't walk in there, you dummy.
It's true.
Spaceballs.
Yeah. Anyway, a national divorce. Marjorie Taylor Greene. In a good sense, this does seem to be uniting some people because at least USA Today said Marjorie Taylor Greene wants a national divorce. This liberal says, let's do it. There is certain factions within both sides that seem to agree on this, and then it seems like there's certain factions, more of the establishment factions, of course, the Reasons, the Catos in the libertarian movement, or, even the Fox Newses, I'm sure, and the MSNBCs, the CNNs. The mainstream cultures in each little cult have their talk points, and they all seem to kind of agree on things. If the people outside of that are saying, let's get a national divorce, like the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, who are in the Republican Party, and then the libertarians like us that are saying, yeah, sure, get a divorce. When the fringe starts to agree, that's when it becomes a terrorist threat here. So I don't know. Do you guys have any hopes of anything coming from this? I mean, obviously the biggest concern is, even if we got something like that, how do you get something like that? Is it possible to get something like that without a lot of bloodshed?
I don't think there has to be bloodshed. I mean, it seems like Texas is already starting, was it Texit or whatever? I mean, granted, I guess they're trying to vote on it, but I feel like I'm very curious.
There's
to see...
Texit, there's Flexit, there's Nehexit. I don't know. There's a whole lot of exits in the libertarian movement.
Those aren't catchy at all.
No.
Texit works, but like Nehexit sounds like
I made that one up.
Someone. Oh, okay.
I'm sure that's New Hampshire's goal, but yeah.
I'd actually be very curious to see, like, if they did do the if they were able to vote on it, what would happen if the majority of the state did, like, say, yeah, let's do it. Like, I think it could open up a really interesting conversation. And I don't agree necessarily with Sarah Silverman when she's like, we'd all just be best friends. Like, there would have to be in like
we're
trade
leaving
deals.
because we hate each other. Like, we would not be best friends all of a sudden if we didn't have to put up with each other. We might be able to tolerate each other if we didn't have to deal with each other, but we wouldn't want to deal with each other even.
But I also would be kind of bummed because, like, I love road trips, and I guess the South might like all be allied or whatever, so I could still go on my road trips to Tennessee or to New Orleans or whatever. But like, I don't know. I'm curious if they do something like a Schengen area, like in the EU, where they're just like, all right, cool, we're separate countries, but we can move between them without having to, like, have a visa or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that's all I care about is road trips, apparently.
Well, I mean, it really depends on how you split it up too, because like it's not like everybody would agree one half of the country is over here and one half of the country is over here and the line is here and we're all just
that's not the way it would happen, I don't think. And I don't even, again, with the centralization versus decentralization stuff, I think that there's a reason that, like, Nina Turner on Twitter will say that calling for a national divorce is treason. You know what I mean? That's been the narrative of the progressive left since the Civil War, right? So to say we're not going to be a part of the union, whatever the corporation, that I would think the state would look at almost like an act of war. I don't think they would just be like, sure, New Hampshire, you want to be the free state? No sweat. I really don't think that that's the way. But there are, like, little movements. There's one here, like, where Delaware touches Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, right? There's culturally, like, at the bottom of the Delaware, the state, and a good portion of Maryland is, like, culturally the same. And there's, like, the Delmarva movement where for decades, they've said, we don't want to be part of Maryland and we don't want to be a part of Delaware. We want to be our own thing, like, right here. And you might be able to carve out, like, new lines for where people want to be, like, culturally, like, hey, these are our people over here and I just want to be there. Or you can move to the county over. But yeah, I don't see how we would, like, split the country in half or, like, have, I don't know, separate governments or something like that.
You have cities, like, you have cities within states. So it's like Atlanta, where I live, is, like, super blue.
Right.
But most of Georgia is pretty red. Like,
I live in the middle of a cornfield in Illinois, and we're, like, basically hosted by Chicago. That's all blue, and the entire rest of the state is red.
Guys, this is our common denominator. In Delaware, it's the same. Even though it's a small state, we have Wilmington. It's awful. Politics is awful. It's corrupt. It's polluted and disgusting.
All of the Mecca cities can be a new country. I don't care, like, about dividing lines. You build your interstates over us or whatever, but we'll take the entire rest. That's just, I mean, it's just empty anyway, and just us, corn folk.
Yeah. We'll take all the resources. Have fun, growing your own food in the city.
Yep. Have fun with all the people that you hate. So we end today on, if this was, like, too lighthearted and happy for everyone, we'll end on some talks of Ukraine, as Mitch McConnell had this week. Just if you guys were, like, having a good time, this is what our elites are concerned about.
What is Biden's responsibility in trying to make sure that people in America whose support for Ukraine is softening will want to continue to try to help them?
Well, I'm going to try to help explain to the American people that defeating the Russians in Ukraine is the single most important event going on in the world right now. It will save us an enormous amount of money down the road if the Ukrainians can succeed. They're not asking for any of our personnel. They're asking us for financial help. The Europeans are stepping up. They've done an awful lot that seems not to be recognized. For example, handling enormous numbers of refugees. In terms of the cost of it, Dana, it's about 0.02% of our gross domestic product. We are also monitoring very carefully the money that's being spent. There should be a bipartisan support for this. My biggest criticism of the president is he seems not to have done enough soon enough.
Seems to have not done enough soon enough. We need more bipartisan support. What for what? It's not for people suffering and, you know.
Try this strange.
No, I'm not trying your strange colonoscopy. I don't give a shit.
Try some strange, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Ukraine is our biggest and most important thing right now because they will make us more money somehow, some way, someday down the road. Don't need to expand on that. You know, they're costing us billions and trillions of dollars right now, but they will help us. We will gain it all back. They're our best investment, and we will gain it all back somehow in the future. And all of our money needs to go there instead of helping our folks here. I don't know. I mean, guys, what do you got with this turtle?
I'll let you go. I feel like
I got a Mitch McConnell impression I've been working out.
Please do.
All right, you gotta put your face in his face, like you gotta feel like this, like reach across the aisle to my colleagues across the aisle to get some of this book of sugar money to Ukraine. Thank my Democratic colleague. If they would just act sooner. Disgusting. He's so gross.
As the conservatives, if we had spent more money sooner, then we wouldn't be in this predicament. Yes. Like, how much money? How much money does it take to stop this? Like, can you put a number on it? How much money of ours would it take for Ukraine to magically have the upper hand over Russia? And in the process, if you could take a moment to figure out how the fuck that relates to us in any way whatsoever, that'd be great.
It's also weird to me how a lot of the friends that I see that are like, you know, pro Ukraine, pro like, you know, helping them and sending money and stuff over there are the same people who got mad like I don't know, Elon Musk for having billions of dollars and being like, he spent what, 44 billion on Twitter when he could have spent that feeding the poor. It's like, we do the same thing, but you vote for it. So like I don't understand this. Like, again, I'm still a baby libertarian, but I kind of the hypocrisy is real.
I mean the socialist idea or the Americanized socialist idea that is like, if we just vote the right people in, then the people that I don't know. I have some socialist friends, and I talk to them, and it's like, so you agree that these people are corrupt, right? Yes. Okay. You agree that they're stealing your money. Yes. You agree that they're using it in ways that you don't like. Yes. But you think that giving them more money will make them suddenly have a change of heart and be better, and like then they'll help. Then they'll start helping the people around. Like, it's not out of a place of, I don't know. It's not out of a place of like evil communism or whatever. It's out of like, I can empathize with where they're coming from. They want to help people, and they think that the way to help people is if the government could just do this, then it would work. But the more money we give them, the more they ship it off somewhere else and give it to somewhere else. And if we don't give them that money, they steal it from us and do the same thing.
They think too. Most progressives think the government makes money. What's money? It's what the government gives you.
Right. They're like, well, the government should take care of it.
So if they can just, I mean, they don't think about printing and taxation, all that stuff. They just think government make money, right? And that's where my money come from.
Well, you print it.
Like
they're the ones with the printer. So that's where money comes from.
The separation of money and state is more important than the separation of almost anything. Like, it's all economic, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about like enriching themselves. You know, when they think that, you know, voting for higher taxes is like charity. Like, I feel like I've given, you know what I mean? That's not, though. And that's, I kind of like think one of the main things we need to get across to them, the other side, right? It's that's not the same thing as charity, you know?
I think that is the way to reach them. Like, having been a former, I mean, I say lefty, but I was always pretty.
I was too, so it's all good. Yeah,
I mean,
Okay,
I had my left leanings at times in my life. My parents at least thought I was an uber lefty at one point. I'm sure,
because we have empathy, because we care about people's. We care about people, right? That's what they think we don't have. That's what the misnomer of the libertarians are, that we just don't care about people. And Dan and I Ron Paul, right? We are libertarians because of the compassionate nature of the results of the philosophy. Right.
And I think that's what we need more of, is people like that. Because I do feel like a lot of the libertarian movement is like, well, our ideas will sell themselves. And it's like, no, because that's what
they're not. So far, they're doing very poorly.
Yeah, like the conservatives lost the culture because they had those same thoughts. They're like, well, we don't need
Right.
to pander to these groups. We don't need to do this and that. They'll just come over because they're common sense. It's like, cool. Well, now they have Hollywood. Now they have all these things. Now they have
That
their
assumes
ideas.
that assumes that common sense is valued in the culture too, and right now
Right.
it's very not.
Right. Yes.
So yeah, so I 100% agree. I think we need to show them, to meet them where they are. So yes, some of these people are just opportunistic assholes, but most of the people I know, like especially artists, actors, they're just like, oh well, that sounds kind, or that okay,
Right.
that sounds like that'll help people. They really do have a
It
heart.
does
for people.
sound that way.
Yeah, they don't have the economics.
Right.
That's the thing. Is like they don't understand how the economics and how the way the government is involved in it actually hurts people. So when I start to explain, hey, like how could you hang out with conservatives? How could you have conservative thoughts? Or how could your dad be a black conservative? I'm like, okay, well, do you know 70% of black parents actually are in support of school choice?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, what is that? And I'm like, oh well, it means that they can send their kid to give them a better chance.
Right.
Send them to a
Take
better
them out
school.
of the shitty slum schools.
And they all agree, like, okay, like, so you kind of have to meet them in that oppression mindset thing.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it because, most of the black people I know are not like, I'm oppressed. Like, they're just
Sure.
like living their
You
lives.
gotta meet each person where they are, or even where they think they are sometimes.
Right. So you have to be like, oh, well, how black people are disproportionately affected by this thing? Or how gentrification hurts black people because, not black people, hurts poor people because property taxes price them out of neighborhoods. Well, if we didn't have property taxes, they could stay, and then the new residents could move in at the market rate, and everybody could be blah, 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 blah. So being able to kind of approach it from that perspective, I've actually seen start to work. So anyway, sorry.
A populist message is always good. Bernie Sanders used it. Donald Trump used it. Ron Paul used it. The system is always keeping somebody down. And it's true that it disproportionately affects black people. So if you're talking to a black audience, in fact, we're having our convention in Wilmington, right? We want to do some urban outreach and bring people into the party. And so we're going to go do it there.
Good.
And, they do all kinds of protests for, gun violence, but nobody's giving an alternate message other than moms demand action, who want to just come take the gun. So it's like, maybe if you were offered another message, like, maybe we'd have a shot. I don't know.
That's why I'm glad you have like people like Maj Toure, the Black Guns Matter guy.
Yeah,
that's
right.
He's great.
He'll be there.
He's people like that. We need more of that. Or like even in Atlanta, I really want to find somebody who knows him. But Big Boy from OUTST is a libertarian.
Really?
You've got like
I did not know that.
I didn't.
Yeah,
either.
he was I don't know if he's like Mises or not, but he basically has a story where somebody, when Obama got elected, he said a white lady came up to him and was like, aren't you glad our guy won? And he's like, bitch, I voted for Gary Johnson. So I think
awesome.
the black community, obviously I don't think we all need to be like, oh, all black people need to vote a certain way or whatever, but I do think we need to propose
But if
alternatives.
you're gonna make it libertarian,
because like my thing is like, we align on a lot of stuff about cops or about government not being trustworthy, and like Tuskegee or whatever. Like there's all sorts of things that we can relate on, and people think that black people are a monolith and vote, what is it, they're like 96% vote Democrat. That's of the people who vote. I think it was something like 40% don't even vote because I think they're so disenfranchised with the system. So that's 40% of people that you could reach. So
there's the people who are brainwashed by the left, and there's the people who think that countering that means voting for the right, and then there's people, the black folk that are like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is bullshit, and they're the right ones. So
and they're probably the ones that you're gonna get, like, because they're the ones who see the system and then go, I want no part of that. So I feel like libertarianism is ripe to come along and be like, yo.
Absolutely. We do have some fake super chats because we're not allowed to take chats. Some of you know the rules. Some of you didn't get the memo in previous episodes, but some of you know, and to those of you that do, we will honor them. Fake super chat, James O'Keefe exposed for not making his own sandwich. That's from Hector Roos. Yes, that is seemingly accurate. I mean, by their own statements. But he also says, ducks are better than chickens for eggs. More eggs, more of the time. And then...
bigger.
With the rebuttal, Joey Two Guns says, "Stay away from ducks unless you don't have to smell them. As for chickens, we can talk." I'm not sure what that means, but thank you for your fake super chats, guys. This has been really something. No, this has been great. Daywalker, it's been awesome to have you, and you fit well here, and you're welcome back pretty much anytime you want to, and we'll make you a regular if you're open to it. But Thank you. If you have any final thoughts, any plugs, anything that you want to shout out before we kick out of here, please.
Awesome. No, this was really fun. Thank you guys. And, thank you for, I always feel like sometimes people, jump on me and they're like, oh, you're a statist or a bootlicker. So I appreciate you being like willing to meet me where I'm at.
I've gotten that, and I've worked with all of them, all the different factions. So it's all good.
But yeah,
we're an insufferable bunch. It's not a
like
secret.
But they're my favorite insufferable bunch, if out of all of the insufferable bunches. Yeah, come follow me on YouTube. I guess I should look at the camera so it looks like I'm looking at you guys. Come follow me.
Connect with your audience. You're not just a voice actor. You're an actor right now.
Yes, I'm like, look into my eyes. Follow me on Daywalker Comedy on YouTube, on all the social medias. Not really TikTok because I got banned, or not banned. I got a thing taken down because of that the racism sketch, and I have a hate speech thing on YouTube. So I'm debating on whether I should put the full sketch there or on Rumble. But either way, it'll come out soon. So
either way, send it to me because I'll share.
Yes, it'll be a doozy. But yeah, come follow me for sketch comedy. I do a live stream every Tuesday morning called Day Talker with my friend Epic Mike, and it's kind of just a fun time. So yeah, come do the social media things. Social media all over me. Touch my cockles. Maybe that might be for OnlyFans. I'll save the cockling for OnlyFans.
At least Patreon, right?
Yeah. I'll put a paywall in front of my cockles.
I mean, monetize that shit. Dave, where can people find you and all the cool, Rage Against War shit that you're doing?
Yeah, go check out the YouTube. That video is doing great so far. Better than most of my podcasts that we just put out. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Yeah, we did some man on the street stuff in Washington, D.C. for the Rage Against the War Machine rally the other day. Had the time of my life and met some really great people that I've admired for a while. So yeah, go check out the YouTube channel, Dave versus Goliath, and Goliath will fall on Twitter.
Awesome. Now, Daywalker, again, thank you so much for being here and being an awesome guest host. And yeah, I look forward to having you again in the future. Please keep up the great work because our community definitely needs more culture, needs more stuff that doesn't say liberty at the beginning of it to sell the crap. It needs more art for art's sake and, slip the realism and the realistic message in there. So please keep up the great work and we'll have you back on soon.
Thank you.
And to all of you in the chats and in the future, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to whatever this is and whatever this has been. We will do more of this whenever we do, at the very least, next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Corn time. This has been fun. I'm going to go watch a Jesus movie with my mom tonight, that new one. It looks surprisingly good, which is very rare for their community because, communities that push the message cart before the art horse, like libertarians often, like Christians often, like conspiracy folks often, it doesn't work. It doesn't sell me, but this movie's looking good, and I'll check back with you later, possibly with a review. I don't even remember the name of the movie. The Jesus Movement or something? I don't know. Something like that. Check it out. I'll see you guys possibly tomorrow morning, if not next Wednesday or next Tuesday or whenever I see you. Until then, thank you. Question everything. Staying comfortable. We'll talk to you next time. Peace out.
Welcome to the system. Everyone's a victim. Doesn't matter if you're black or white, it hates you all. Here inside the system, violence is a symptom. Fighting for what's right, but somehow everyone is wrong. Dun, 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 dun.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and help us change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, go join the Downers Club at patreon.com/thesystemsdown for bonus episodes of the show every single week. Until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. GoulashMedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.